Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we are glad you could make it. We're about to begin our fourth session of the evening. Welcome back. Our next session is What About the Children? Where Can I Go? Our presenters for this session include Ms. Sakia Johnson and Ms. Yadira Coggins. Both ladies are currently serving as coordinators in the Dallas ISD Homeless Education Program. If you ladies are ready, I will turn it over to you at this time.
All right. So first of all, thank you for having us. Of course, with the Homeless Education Program, we strictly operate off of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act when it comes to providing assistance to our homeless families or homeless youth in need. And one thing that we consider first is if the student is living in a fixed, regular, or inadequate nighttime residency. If they lack that type of residency, then at that time they are considered homeless. The McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act requires the immediate enrollment of children and youth experiencing homelessness, even in the absence of records, normally required for enrollment. So what this means is that we give a 30-day time frame from the date of enrollment for those students and families to obtain those documentation pieces for enrollment, such as birth certificates, SHOT records, Social Security cards, any different documentation pieces that you normally would bring into an enrollment. As I said, they are given 30 days from the enrollment date to bring those items into the campuses. Also, we want to make sure that school is the safest place to be for our children who may be in danger. So with that being said, during the enrollment process itself, we really try our best to encourage staff to be as empathetic as possible to that family. Also consider what they're going through enough to truly be able to understand and assess their situation and also assess their needs. So after you've actually realized that the student or the family that you're talking to has a lack of a fixed, regular, or an adequate nighttime residency, at that time you would assess their living arrangement itself. So in order for you to determine if their level of homelessness, you would determine if they're sharing a housing situation with friends or family. Also, if they're living in a motel, hotel, trailer park, or campground. You can also assess if they're living in an emergency shelter or a transitional housing program. And then we also find that if they are chronically homeless, you may find a trend of continuous couch surfing. They may even end up in an emergency shelter, but work the program itself and end up back in a situation where they're constantly couch surfing with other family and friends. Also, we do show that a lot of the different people who are going through homelessness at this time, they tend to live in situations where they're not normally designed for humans to live, such as cars, abandoned buildings. We tend to really see this trend with unaccompanied youth. And an unaccompanied youth is any youth who is not in the physical custody of their parents. So after that, then you first, after identifying your family and identifying that they're homeless, then at that time you would then reach out to a registrar, or you could even go to a community liaison to complete a student residency questionnaire. With the student residency questionnaire, we actually do have that form online on our website where you can actually go in and obtain it either in English or Spanish. With that form itself, that form determines their residency. It actually goes through a list of the different locations that we just talked about. And at the bottom, it actually asks for specific information related to their phone number, their address, the current address they're living in. Also, if they have any kids between 0 and 5, it also asks that question on the student residency questionnaire as well. And the purpose for all that information is because we really want to have good information. So moving forward throughout the year, if we have any ongoing events or any different activities going on or anything that we can assist the family with further, then we would be able to then reach back out to them through that form. At that time, once you fill out that form, you can then turn it back into a registrar. You can actually give it to a community liaison, and then at that time, they will then send it over to us. So if you have any immediate needs, then we can relate back to that form. Also, with step 3, seek additional input as needed. So during the eligibility process itself, if for some reason you have questions about if you qualify based on your living situation, please feel free to give us a call or even reach out to your community liaison on the campus to ask questions.
So, how can parents provide stability? If you are homeless or in transition as a family, there are a few ways to give children the stability that is so important for children's well-being. The first one will be to establish a routine that you do every night, no matter where you are, such as reading their favorite book, getting ready for bed, or eating their favorite meal. This can also give you the chance to connect with your child by asking about their day. The second one will be connecting with teachers and other staff at the school. Having that connection at the school helps children feel like they belong. And it is actually a great way for parents to get resources and get connected as well. The third suggestion is to make sure that you also talk to children about your situation, just enough to keep them informed, but not so much to overwhelm them. Then we have give a consistent model, clear rules to follow regarding safety precautions. Basically, setting up simulations for children to rehearse using safety precautions, including dealing with inappropriate touch and identifying adults that can trust, that you can trust, and that they can trust to help them when they are in danger. So the homeless education program, our purpose as a program is to support homeless students and their families by providing services that establish stability for children and youth in transition in order for them to succeed in school. Our vision as a department is to empower and encourage confidence, inspiration, and independence, and to provide that stability for children that are homeless and youth through our services.
It is now time for our question and answer session. I have the most frequently asked questions from our live Q&A feed. Now we'll give our presenters the opportunity to answer those questions at this time. So ladies, if you're ready, we'll dive right in. Okay. First question. What should we do if we suspect a student at our child's school is homeless?
I'll take this question. So if a student is then identified on the campus as being homeless, then the parent would need to go to a registrar or even a community liaison to fill out a student residency questionnaire, which identifies them as homeless.
What do we do if we unexpectedly find ourselves without a home? Who should we call or contact?
You can reach out to our program directly at 972-749-5750. At that time, we can then assess your situation and hopefully be able to reach out to different partners to see if there are any availability in shelters, and also to find different situations of more permanent housing.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Johnson, just really quick, just to add to what Takia was saying, our website also has a two-way communication, our Let's Talk app on the right side of the page. They can also go to the website and actually submit their questions or their requests.
Okay. We informed our parents about the Let's Talk feature, so
right.
that's
Thank
great.
you.
That's good to know that they can access that. Okay. Yeah. Our next question. What type of assistance does the homeless education program provide to those who are homeless?
For students who are homeless, we provide materials that could be anything from school supplies to uniforms, food and toiletries based on the need. We can also provide them in-district or out-of-district transportation. In-district transportation would be for those kiddos who are still residing inside Dallas ISD district and need to be able to get back and forth to school because their school is either 2 miles away, 2 miles further from their living arrangement than the school is. And in that case, we can provide them bus passes. Also, with the out-of-district transportation, that is transportation where we can actually reach out to transportation to see if we can set up a car or a bus. for the student to be able to receive so that they can get back and forth to school if they're residing outside of the district.
Can you define homelessness for our parents? The different types of homelessness.
If a family is considered homeless or a youth is considered homeless, they would either be living doubled up with a family or a friend at a temporary arrangement of that family or friend. They could even be also living in a motel or a hotel. They could be living in an emergency shelter or a transitional housing program. And then they can also be living in a situation where they're living in a car. Or any situation that would not normally be a residence for a human being.
Does the Dallas ISD homeless education program partner with other shelters in the community?
We do. We have a relationship with those shelters, and we actually meet with them and talk to them throughout the year to see how we can better benefit those families, and also getting important resources to them so that they can be able to make an informed decision on where they need to go.
If me and my child become homeless during the school year, do we need to fill out the form again, or do we just contact the school?
I can take that one, Sakia. So if they didn't complete, if they became homeless during the school year, they will have to probably to reach out to somebody within the staff and complete the SRQ, the Student Questionnaire Residency. And that will allow us to actually know and code them as homeless and actually be able to support them in any way possible.
And where can that form be accessed?
It is on our website. It can be through the website, but the schools also have it.
Okay. And
yes,
so do they need to ask for it specifically, or will the schools be able to?
They can ask for that specifically, or the schools are also trained to actually provide that SRQ form. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next question. Does homelessness include major tragedies such as tornadoes or fires? Would a person be considered as homeless if their home was destroyed during for natural causes? Mother Nature, basically, is what we're asking.
Yes, I can take that question. Yes, at that time they would be considered homeless if they are displaced due to homelessness. Of course, if they're in a situation where their house or their apartment has caught on fire, but the apartment complex is able to put them in a different apartment, then at that time they still would have maintained their residency, so they wouldn't be considered homeless. But if they are displaced due to homelessness based on those tragedies, then yes, at that time they would be.
So how they're asking, how is it changed back? So once the student qualifies as homeless, once they get into a home, what do they need to do from there?
From there, as far as with our department, they don't have to do anything, because once they're identified as homeless at the beginning of the year or in the middle part of the year, then that identification runs over into June 30th. So they're actually identified all the way until June 30th for that year. So if they've obtained permanent housing, then that's great. But they would be able to receive any benefit that our program is able to provide until June 30th.
Okay, it is. That concludes our fourth session. Let's thank Ms. Sakia Johnson and Ms. Yadira Coggins for taking the time to share that helpful information with us this evening.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.